Hello, everyone, and welcome back to DAWOODSHOW. Today I have Hayley Smith, who is joining me from Norway. Hayley is the founder and director of Lifting Hands International. Hayley founded Lifting Hands International in 2016 after an eye-opening stint as an Arabic translator at Moria refugee camp in Greece. In 2009, Hayley earned a master's degree in Middle Eastern Studies from the University of London's School of Oriental and African Studies. Hayley has spent extensive time in Morocco, Egypt, and Jordan, and she taught Arabic in Boston public schools and is so proud of her former students. She is a number one Speak Arabic campaign ambassador and encourages young people to pursue Arabic. Hayley is interested in literature, film, World War One history, and Stranger Things. Hayley Smith, welcome to Dawud Show.
Hi, Dawood. It's
Hi.
very nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Hayley. And I know that you have done a lot of work advocating for the refugees as a humanitarian activist. But I would like to ask first, like you studied the Middle Eastern history and also you speak Arabic and you taught Arabic in schools. So what made you interested in Arabic language and also to study about Middle East?
That's a very good question. The love for Arabic was very random and very spontaneous. I'm from West Texas on the border of Mexico, and there aren't any Arabic speakers, really, not very many in El Paso, Texas. It wasn't until I started traveling overseas, but my first experience was I was 18 or 19 years old when I left the country for the first time. I went to the UK. And I was exposed to numerous cultures. My eyes were very opened to, if you, for example, if you go to a corner shop in London, they have newspapers in 30 languages. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that I decided to, on a day that I was actually quite bored and quite depressed, I went to the library and I, with the purpose of learning a foreign alphabet to get me through the day. This was a long time ago, during my university, when I was having some difficult times, as many university students do. And that's how I found Arabic. And so when I found the book at the library, this connection was made between the alphabet, what I was seeing in this book, and also the newspapers I saw in London. And for some reason, it just really sparked this passion for the language. I took the book, I learned the alphabet on my own, and I loved it so much that I studied it my last year of college at BYU in Utah. And I knew that was going to be the new focus of my life. And it took me in many interesting directions. It's been really fantastic.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Arabic is also my second language, and I see that once you learn a new language, you become also like a new person. Like you learn with the language, also the culture. And I know that that experience learning the Arabic also took you to Morocco, to Egypt, to Jordan. Yeah, like you visit many countries. Can you tell us about the experience, like after you learned Arabic and visiting all these countries in Middle East?
Yeah.
Africa?
So initially learning the language itself was I was in love. I fell in love with the language. It kind of saved me from all kinds of things. And then I went and visited the countries, and that saved me. The Arab culture and Middle Eastern culture, not just Arab culture. Middle Eastern culture is so hospitable and so kind. They open your door to anyone. And I feel like I made friends so fast. And so the focus was less on the language and more on the people. And that's what the skill I developed, was not just speaking to them in crazy Moroccan Arabic, which is not really Arabic, or crazy Egyptian Arabic, which is a little bit better, or trying to teach myself Syrian Arabic. But the point is when you're speaking with them, it's not just the language, right? It's learning how to kind of absorb and reflect the strengths of the cultures, like being more kind and being more open and being more hospitable and opening my doors more to people and to strangers. And I feel like the Middle East has an advantage over us in the West. I think in the West we're very friendly, but we're not very open. If our friend needs help, we were like, can you call someone else? Or things like that. I don't know if you experienced that, but I imagine that if I were from the Middle East and went to America to live or to visit, I would be a little confused. Like, why don't people spend more time together? Why don't people drop everything and help their friends more? It's a little bit different that way. And so I've tried to adopt that and then reflect it.
I believe like that also lead you to start your nonprofit organization and work more with the refugees. And I know that you spent some time in refugee camps in Greece as an Arabic translator. So how was that experience from Arabic translator? Help, like you were still helping the refugees, but then your goal was get bigger and to start an international organization and to help the refugees more.
Yeah. So when I was a translator, it wasn't it wasn't a one-on-one translation. It wasn't official, but it was more of I was in a camp of thousands of people, and I was literally the only foreigner who could speak any Arabic. And right, like I'm not a native speaker of Arabic. Arabic is a very, very difficult, like, well, there's 64 dialects of Arabic. And so what happened is for 2 weeks, I had very confused, cold, desperate, lost people coming to me, asking me for any sort of information. And it was it's very hard to think about even now, just the lack of anything I could tell them, anything concrete. There was no information. The only thing I could tell them was take your ticket and you have to wait until your turn to get registered. And they would say, where's my, like, where do we sleep tonight? Where do we get food? Where do we go to the bathroom? Where do we get water? And for most questions, I would have to be like, over there, maybe. I don't know where you can sleep tonight. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was very heartbreaking. And it made me realize that we are so unprepared. We are so unprepared in the West to give people the same courtesy that they would give us. I tell you, Dawood, if I walked into DAWOOD or somewhere, or Shadia, and I told people I'm thirsty, or I need food, I need a place to sleep, they would drop everything and they would welcome me in. And so that's one reason why I wanted to start Lifting Hands International, was not to step in and help people, but it was more of paying people back for all of the hours and weeks, months of time and food and Arabic lessons and people being very patient as I try to speak Arabic to them. Like, I'm trying to pay them back. I would basically, LHI is my attempt to do exactly what you would do if I were in your shoes. And yeah, so it's less about me trying to help, and it's more of like, this is just basic human being reciprocal, like me doing what you would do for me, basically.
Yeah. And I think it's just like a kind of like human instinct, and also is like the social responsibility. Like after I moved to US, community here needed me, I will just feel the responsibility that I need to respond to that. So the same way after you learn language, you become friend with them, you just feel that these people are in need, and to take the responsibility and just to put yourself in their shoes, you have to do something.